How politically potent is this?
Oh, this is very politically potent, no doubt about that. The idea is that the whole issue goes back to Labor's reputation. And what we're seeing at the moment is a real visceral feeling about immigration generally, the record immigration. These are all issues that Labor is on the wrong side of history on. And as a result, they are really facing a difficulty. It's not just about 15 people, Chinese nationals arriving on the north coast of Australia. It is a much broader issue, and it will be one that will resonate all the way to the election.
Well, let's go to the other big news today, that appointment by Penny Wong of our former Defence Force Chief Mark Binskin. I worked with him in the Abbott era. He is a good man. He will now be Australia's special advisor on Israel's response to that airstrike that killed the Australian aid worker last week. Israel was a trusted friend, Dennis. It now looks like we don't trust their ability to investigate. And my concern is, once you query Israel's truthfulness over all of this, I think you're giving currency to those who say October 7 never actually happened. Like, and this is a shocking report out of the United Kingdom, 40% of university-educated Muslims in the UK aged between 18 and 24, they don't believe that Hamas committed the atrocities on October 7. That's according to the Foreign Policy National Security think tank, the Henry Jackson Society, that was out over the weekend. Now, I can't even think of any precedent for us second-guessing or inquiring into an investigation by a sovereign nation ally like this. Can you, Dennis?
Well, no. I mean, we did seek an inquiry into the downing of the Malaysian airline, but that was because nobody was taking responsibility and nobody was investigating, and we joined with other allies to do that. And I think that that was perfectly justified. The curious thing is that both China and Russia have previously complained about Australia's stance against the invasion of Ukraine, using the point that we were accused of war crimes in Afghanistan. And so did we allow others to investigate our own allegations of war crimes? I think that what's happening here is that the Prime Minister, and he said it on radio this afternoon, that the special advisor will have the capacity to investigate effectively whether we can trust Israel and whether Israel is telling the truth as to whether this was a mistake. Now, I know there are some people who believe that September 11 never happened and October 7 never happened. There are even some people in the UN who have suggested that this was a deliberate strike to try and starve the people of Gaza. I mean, this is absurd. Why? There's been no greater damage done to Israel since October 7 than this attack, this destruction and these tragic deaths of aid workers. But to suggest that somehow that there is some, deliberate attempt is absolutely absurd, and it gives ground to the critics, crazy as they may be. And I think that it's very dangerous. It's very political. It's a political decision. We're trying to ameliorate the local domestic politics, and we're using our previous relationship with Israel, and we're calling that into question. There have been some bad things Israel has done diplomatically, including using Australian passports during a Secret Service assassination. Yes. But what we complained about that. We didn't actually conduct our own inquiry on Israeli soil and say, we're not going to accept what you're saying. I think this is a very dangerous path to go down, and we'll see where it goes. Look, the other thing is, we as a government, the Australian government, suspended payments to UNRWA, the UN relief organisation, after it was alleged, and it does appear to have been pretty correct, that members of its staff were involved in those attacks on October 7. And yet the independent inquiry that the UN called is not over, and yet the Australian government has restored funding to UNRWA. So where is there any consistency in the approach on what we're asking, what we're accepting, and what we are saying needs to be independently tested?